WrestleMania 41, night one, is absolutely done. It is over. My voice is hanging on by a thread because, of course, I'm out here in Las Vegas. I was at the show, and make sure you check out over on What Culture Wrestling my live ups and downs we did from a bar in a casino, which is totally mad, but we are going to get into nitty-gritty here. We're going to sit in this very weird but comfortable green chair, and, of course, I'm going to tell you what I thought about what has actually, because I've gone on social media, and I've had a look. Well, it's been a bit of a divisive show. And actually, one of those things that did split the people down the middle was Jay Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is how we started Mania Part 1, Night 1, Day 1, do a little bit of a dance. I'm just going to get it out here right now, and I understand I was there, right? I think you always have to take into account how you're feeling, the position you were in, the people you're around you. I'm not sure how it came across on TV, because some people kind of made out that maybe the atmosphere didn't sound that good. It was pretty good at the Allegiant Stadium, and now, Jay Uso, of all people, is our World Heavyweight Champion. I think it's great. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. I totally don't mind, and I understand if you think it's crazy that Jay Uso has gotten to this position, but I love it because, one, I love Jay Uso. He won me over many moons ago. But also, I want to live in a WWE and an AEW, Ring of Honor, and New Japan, just pro wrestling, where if somebody gets over, even if they aren't World Championship material, we look at the crowd and go, they like them, they like the catchphrase, they like the word, whatever it may be. Let's just go with them and let's see what happens. And even if it doesn't work out, I don't think that it matters. And I don't necessarily think it's Jay Uso becoming the champion that sparks some people off. I think deep down in our Tootsie Toes, we all expected this, but it was the fact that he tapped Gunther out. Now, context is key. Before this, Jay Uso had smashed him with 3 splashes, 1 on the back and 2 on the front, I believe that it was. And then Gunther was still moving, right? So Jay Uso was like, oh, what do I do? And he'd hit him with the spear, he'd hit him with the super kicks, and he locked him in the choke. Now, some people seem to be really mad that Gunther tapped out. Maybe I just watch pro wrestling in a bit of a different way. I don't know. Please let me know in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. You know the deal. But emotionally, I thought it tied into the fact that this was the same move that Gunther had tried to kill Jimmy Uso with. So I thought there was a poetic connection there. It was also the move we were told when Ilya Dragunov beat Gunther that, oh my gosh, Gunther can't take that move. But also, of course, Gunther tapped out straight away. He's a bad guy. He's a heel. You're not meant to trust him. You're meant to think he's a coward. Maybe he's a smart guy and he's so aware of that maneuver. He's like, well, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. I can understand my predicament. I can only talk to you from my heart, right? And my honesty and my truth, to use 2025 words. And it just didn't bother me. And I didn't even think it would bother anybody else until I saw it on the internet, which is why 9 times out of 10 I try not to read social media before I give you my opinion. But wrestling is about how you feel at the end of the day. And I just think it's great that Jey Uso won the championship. I think it's awesome that he used that move and he got the tap out win. I actually said it on a video the other day, I can't remember which one. I was getting a bit bored of people passing out. And I think if you are going to do that in wrestling, it should be the good guy that passes out because they were heroic, like Stone Cold Steve Austin just went to the Hall of Fame back in 1997, WrestleMania 13 against Bret Hart. One of the reasons he became such a good babyface is because he valiantly fought. I don't want to see Gunther, who right now is a bad guy, villain, a heel, whatever you want to call him, valiantly fight. I want him to tap out straight away because he's a coward, he's a wiener, he's a goober, he's a Poindexter, whichever word you want to use. This to me was the simplest thing we did all night long. Bad guy, good guy. You won the Royal Rumble, people love you, they like your catchphrase. There's way more to Jey Uso than that, but if you just want to call him a catchphrase, it's not like he's the first person. It was tremendous stuff, and I think it set the scene for what was an interesting WrestleMania. I think it's bigger than the sum of its parts, this WrestleMania. So if you just watched it match by match by match, as you do when you first obviously tune in, I think it's better once you get to the main event and go back through it, but only time will tell when it comes to that. The second match being a great proof of such an idea, the New Day versus the War Raiders. I think all of us should watch this in 10 days' time, by itself. So no match 1, no match 3, no main event, none of that. You just watch the New Day versus the War Raiders. I think you're going to find it pretty good. I thought the work was good. I thought some of the reversals, the fact the War Raiders were just throwing each other around like projectiles into Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods always makes me laugh because it's a strange thing to do. I will say, and there's 2 sort of teeny tiny negatives here. The first is the build was too short and you could have done this match on Raw given the build and it wouldn't have made such difference. It lacked the hype that it deserved because again, they're 2 great teams and we're talking about championships here, but it made it weirder because the SmackDown tag titles went on the line and that had so much more story, like 6 months worth of story. But I would have liked it if Kofi and Xavier had cheated just a little bit more. I know they cut off the War Raiders finishing move, and I know that Kofi Kingston held the leg. So I think it was Eric that got pinned, maybe it was Ivar, I can't remember. It's like 1 in the morning here. Wasn't able to kick out, so they did cheat. But given what they did in December to Big E, it would have been way better if they, like, I don't know, shot a guy. I'm joking, don't do that. But do you know what I mean? Something that's so heinous, like, I can't believe you did that. But at the same time, this is a destination match. The New Day should have been tag championships back in January, right? After they turned heel, it should have been a 6-week, how do we get them back into that title position? And we did get a lot of title changes, like apart from the Charlotte Tiffany match, every title did change hands. So it didn't have the excitement of the first match, and it had suffered, and it's not their fault, you have to go with what the company tells you to do. So I will take the criticism that maybe it didn't feel like a WrestleMania match, but I love the New Day winning because I'm a big fan of theirs, even though they are the bad guys. And I thought there was some really good bits in here that I don't want us to forget about because I think it would be unfair, sounds ridiculous, because a match in many ways is inanimate. It doesn't exist, but they did what they could have done with the somewhat wishy-washy information they were given. So it's a difficult one to talk about because I get it. There's an idea that, you know, the overall feel of WrestleMania wasn't very WrestleMania-y. Again, I'm biased because I was there. It did feel like WrestleMania because people were so excited. We got a title change. I hope that WWE can capitalize on this and really lean into that heel turn that the New Day did so well. So yeah, if you're somewhere in the middle with it, I get it. But I do lean on the side that I just thought it was all right and I had a good time. So I got my match order so screwed up, and you're going to find out later that actually, well, you'll see when I talk about it. Jade Cargill versus Naomi, another match I was just so into because the story was simple. And you knew that Naomi was an asshole and that Jade Cargill was coming for her revenge. Had a weather report by a famous American weatherman, Jim Contour or something like that. So she's nuts. Jade Storm, she went out of her way to make that. But they just did everything that they had to do. Like, once again, maybe nothing we're ever going to write home about. But Jade Cargill did this amazing powerbomb when she hoisted Naomi up and kind of spun. And she finished off with the Jaded after that. I mean, I was a bit jaded, not going to lie, because I was rooting for Naomi. Goes into something we're going to talk about later with heel turns. I think when someone turns heel, they need to win their next match. But it just worked for me, I suppose. I can't even think what I can give you. Naomi was in control here, if you want to talk about ring generaling. But everyone always goes, oh, Jade Cargill can't be in singles matches. I'd say it was perfectly fine. That's me being not nice enough. It was a really, really good WrestleMania match with a good, strong finish that tells you Jade Cargill is a mega babyface, and Naomi, even though she has gone heel, you know, we need to put in a feud that she's going to win. Like, I love Chelsea Green, but she could win the US Championship, maybe win the IC Championship. If a draft is coming, maybe just challenge for a world title. I mean, Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton would be great. And even though it makes more sense for Jade, that's babyface. I think WWE is going to do that. Naomi also has new music. This character of Naomi could be my favorite new wrestler. She now comes out to like hardcore metal, which is the last thing that I saw coming. But she did need to get away from her Feel the Glow theme. So yeah, it just ticked all the boxes. Maybe if you're going to do star ratings, which are dumb, you'd never rate it more than 3 out of 5, but it's the best 3 out of 5. It's like a video game, a 7 out of 10, just does everything that you want it to do. And maybe it doesn't exceed expectations, but I loved it. And I was disappointed Naomi didn't win, because I'm such a fan of Naomi. I thought Jade Cargill had a great showing too. I think this one felt like a WrestleMania match, because they've been building up for the last 6 months. We tied into all of that. Bianca Belair could still be a factor. So, I mean, no notes. Once again, for what we had and where we were and what they needed to do and where we knew we were going with the main event, sometimes you can overcook the pudding. You don't need to overcook the pudding. This one gave me a perfectly made cake. Match number 3 was LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. I think I get confused for the US title. If it wasn't for the main event, I think I would be shouting about this more. I thought it was awesome. Like, I thought it was so damn good. The work, keep using that word like I'm a proper pro wrestler, it was the work that I liked the most. And some of the things they were doing. The BFT off the PME, which rhymes, so it must be true, requires such delicate timing. And it must have hurt like hell. But it was even the way that LA Knight started here. He's almost like out the trap. She's like, oh my gosh, Jacob Fatu. He's really terrifying, and his moves sometimes are impenetrable to stop because he has been kicking his ass the whole time. So it was almost the opposite to the Triple H Randy Orton match from WrestleMania 25, when they had this amazing build where there was house invasions and Randy Orton was RKOing McMahon's all over the place, and they locked up. And they said, well, why would you lock up if you hate each other? And here, again, we took what Jacob Fatu had become and we put it all together. And by the time that Jacob Fatu was hitting hip attack after hip attack, and then hit that awesome Samoan drop as well, and then he got the 2 prettiest moonsaults ever. I always call it the PME because he does have the same finishing maneuver as Tiffany Stratton. But after he got the second one and he got the pin, I was like, yeah, that's the way to do it. You don't need Jacob Fatu to cheat his way to a win. He's basically already become a babyface. I like the fact that Solo Sikoa was bigging him up during his entrance too. Told me that my fantasy booking was wrong. Yes, my predictions absolutely suck. Because I thought we could keep the belt on LA Knight and start the Bloodline versus Bloodline feud. Whereas now I do think we're going to do that, but we'll do it with the US belt. I don't really see, other than the usual, oh my gosh, I have an automatic rematch clause, how LA Knight can even justify getting another match. That guy was beat, but more power to him. He only won that title back, 43 days ago or something like that. And it kind of does suck, but it's for the greater good. And I will talk about it with Jay Uso later as well. Some people are going to have to win some belts and lose them relatively quickly so we don't fall into Roman Reigns' 1,316-day territory over and over again. You know, Chelsea Green's held her belt for 6 months. Her Cody just gone over a year. And the tag pit's just changed, but I don't think the tag division's in a particularly good place at the moment. But Bron Breakker, he's had heel belt for ages as well. And it hasn't been the time to take it off him. But you could have argued it either way. And that's why I think it's one of these amazing matches where both guys are going to feel like bigger stars just because we let them shine. It felt like a WrestleMania match, and I think, at least on television, in the arena, I felt like the energy was good constantly. But there was a pickup here, I think, because no one really knew who was going to win. Most people, I think, would have been fine either way that it had gone. But Jacob Fatu getting his first sort of big notch on his belt, whatever you want to say, at WrestleMania, I think is awesome. And by next year's WrestleMania, he should probably be sniffing around that main event scene. And with 18 months, he should probably be a world champion. He's your future. He's the man. LA Knight is great as well. Like, he really is fantastic. Had an entrance in a car because it is WrestleMania. So I was a huge fan of it as well. And again, by this point, I did see a few people go, it doesn't feel like WrestleMania. This match felt like WrestleMania, right? No matter how you want to spin it, the context you want to put in there. This was a WrestleMania match. It's probably one I would like to watch again soon. Now, Grande Americano versus Rey Phoenix is super hard to talk about because it was a mess, right, eventually. Like, even when Rey Mysterio did challenge El Grande, it was pretty last minute in terms of when WrestleMania was. Then Rey gets injured, nothing more important than that, so I hope he is doing all right. And Rey Phoenix is a fine person to take that spot. But I personally think that WWE may have called an audible here. Like, there's a wrestling, I don't know what the word would be, but a thing that wrestlers do, or wrestling promoter does. If you have a match that's advertised and you can't fulfill it and you bring somebody else in, you find somebody who has a similar star power and they win because you want to make the fans feel like they didn't get ripped off, I suppose. And we didn't do that here. And let's not forget that Rey Phoenix only debuted a couple of weeks ago and he's already losing to El Grande Americano, who did have a metal plate up his face. And honestly, the headbutt that Chad Gable, I'm just going to call him his real name, I know, go crazy, it gave to Rey Phoenix just when Rey Phoenix was on the flow. The way he sold that dead cell, I was going nuts in the stands. I was like, I love that. And the diving headbutt he did, and that crazy reverse moonsault 450 thing, whatever the flub you want to call it, that was awesome too. So the work here was brilliant. I think El Grande is one of the most underrated guys, and Rey Phoenix just coming on fire to WWE. I mean, the potential we have there is absolutely crazy. But I see there's ups and downs. I say it here too. Again, only you can decide this. I'm not saying this is me. I'm saying, you know, people that I've talked to that are Mexican don't particularly like the character. They do, like El Grande, that is, and they don't like the fact that it was used to beat Rey Phoenix, right? They feel like it's not the right way to do it based on where they're from and what they like and what they don't like. And I completely understand that. Said on a video the other day, people are allowed to be offended, people are allowed to be sensitive, you're allowed to cry. I literally did this speech on ups and downs, but I want to double down on it because it ties into mental health a little bit, and I am, you know, that guy. I do talk about it a lot. And I think we should hear these people and open up our brains. But this one, again, I hate saying it, I really feel bad, but this one really did feel like it could have been on a Raw or SmackDown, and it wouldn't have massively felt out of place. Now, again, a huge reason for that is because Rey Mysterio was injured, and I do believe that Rey Phoenix is going to win this feud eventually. It will be mask versus mask, and, you know, Chad Gable will try and use the metal plate, whatever the flub he puts behind there. Rey Phoenix will stop him, and then we can go, ha, 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 we knew it was you all along. So I don't think it will affect Rey Phoenix in terms of where he's going to be, but compare it to what we did with Penta, right? We protected Penta so much. It has elevated him a little bit, and I would argue that Rey Phoenix doesn't feel like he's been diminished, but now we're going to have to try extra hard, which is not what we had to do with Penta at all. But the match itself is brilliant. If you could just watch it for what it was and ignore all the nonsense, the characterization or the story around it, they're two really talented people. And that kick that Phoenix did to Chad Gable when he was on the apron, I just keep calling him Chad Gable now. And yeah, some of the suplexes and it's very impressive. And I don't think we talk enough about Chad Gable and just how good he is. And I would love to, I mean, people say he's too small. Who cares about that anymore? That's up for the creative team to make work. But I would love to see him go at it with a Jacob Fatu in the future, or even a CM Punk, a Seth Rollins, a Roman Reigns. I think that'd be super interesting to see what he could do, because I just think he is that good. And Phoenix, you know, like a duck to water, he's know what he's doing. So a good match, but given where this fell, sort of slap bang in the middle of the card, yeah, understandably, if you were like, oh man, that wasn't massively WrestleMania, that one I can sort of level with you on. But I think maybe it ties into more, we did talk about this the other day as well, WrestleMania is meant to be a season closer, and this one actually felt like the opening of a brand new season for the many matches of starting stories. Because you have to imagine that Chad Gable and Rey Phoenix are now going to go on to have a massive feud with each other, which will do them well, but yeah, I'm going to use that term again, a bit wishy-washy, a bit all over the place, but ultimately still good. At least it wasn't bad in the way the matches used to be bad, when it was absolute fast. The in-ring was good and everything else, yeah, maybe it didn't really have the WrestleMania allure to it, but I also know, as I was sat there in the stands, I was still enjoying myself. I said it again. When we get to our semi-main event, whatever you want to call it, Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's title. I don't think I've ever seen a match like it. I don't know if I can explain it to you if you haven't seen it yet. It was half shoot, punching each other in the face, and it was half you're going to reverse my move, I'm going to reverse your move, and then we're going to get to our finishing moves. And listen, it wasn't the smoothest thing in the world. That's the one word I would not use. Someone said, Simon, what one word would you not use to describe this? It would be smooth. But in that, there was an intangible beauty, which is a stupid thing to say. But listen, wrestling can be whatever you want it to be. It's just a few people in a ring, however many, the number you determine with a referee, and somebody wins determined on the rules that we make up. And I don't know whether they called an audible with this. I still kind of feel like Charlotte Flair was going to win. I think WWE's decided their chemistry is just too weird together, which it has been in the builds and the promos, and that one we still don't know whether it was a real, whether it was a shoot, you know. It's still up there for you to debate, and WWE have most definitely lent into it. But Tiffany Stratton had 2 teeth knocked out, or at least chipped, so they were really laying in hard here, but you could tell some of the kicks and some of the punches. I mean, it's one of those weird wrestling things that we do, where we're trying to make you think they're fighting for real, but then by proxy, that tells you that all the other fights aren't real. And you don't want to do that. It'd be like Brad Pitt breaking the fourth wall in every single movie he does. It's okay if he does it in one because it ties into the plot, but if he keeps on doing it, like, well, I just keep breaking the relationship I have with this film. But I liked it. And that's the issue, not the issue, it's a good thing, but that's why I find myself so confused with it. It is proper 2 + 2 equals potato. Why did I go to the wrestling show? To enjoy myself. Did I enjoy this match? Yes. But can I also completely understand if someone was completely bewildered by it? Yes. It's a really, really strange match. So I would say that you should go and watch it. And it's a shame that you've watched, it's not a shame, thank you so much, but I think you would get something more out of watching it first and then getting people's opinions. I think there's going to be a bunch of stories about this and how it came together and what it meant. And Tiffany Stratton won pretty clean, PME, 1, 2, 3, also clicked out of an Avalanche natural selection. And I don't think we ever saw the figure 8, but we did see the figure 4 that she was able to get out of. I think you kind of have to end the feud. There's nothing to go back for here. I would come up with something completely different for Charlotte. Don't even know where Tiffany Stratton goes, although she's definitely benefited. I will say there were certain sequences that they tried to do. It just didn't work, and there was a lot of hesitation. But that added to this strange feeling that was running through the whole thing. I didn't really know what was going on, but that's why I couldn't take my eyes away from it. And listen, people loved the fact that Tiffany Stratton won. The pop was huge. People loved her Barbie entrance. That got a massive reaction as well. And that was cool too, that we brought in the bells and whistles and the WrestleMania gear. And Roman Reigns or Charlotte Flair probably wins the who's coming in with a WrestleMania physique. They're both so jacked. It was crazy. But yeah, I think WWE has changed their mind here about whatever they could have done for a long program. Just had Tiffany Stratton win, which she would have done at the end of the feud anyway. But a fascinating match. I really hope by the time I finish this video, I can go on and, be it a Fightful or whoever, have some more information for me about who put this together, who agented it. Did they get too carried away in the match, even though that was kind of the idea and they shot on the shot? I do not know, but this is the one I would like your comments on the most, because I think it's going back to what we talked about at the start, divide people right down the middle. Screw a heel tapping out, which is far more sort of storyline based or character arc based. There is a whole thesis you could write on Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. I don't think I've seen anything like it. This is a little nerdy thing to say, but it's like we take a New Japan Strong Style and almost like what we do in NXT and just merge them together. But I think there's probably other options that both would benefit from going forward. I don't think we should keep going back to it, flogging a dead horse, I believe they call it. I don't think that's going to get us anywhere, but it's a match I'm going to watch again and again and again. Maybe I will do a whole video on it. It's called like the master class, I wouldn't call it a disaster, but the master class roller coaster that was Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. And yeah, Tiffany Stratton was the only person to retain her belt on this whole show, which is something she should lean into, right? And it also kind of goes to show there was some resetting for sure, but this one, I guess it was a reset because we finished. It was mad, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it in a way that I've probably never enjoyed a wrestling match before, but there's something to say that even if a lot of it was mistakes, who cares, right? It doesn't matter. If I make a pie, it's meant to be a cheese pie, and I used to put apple in it, and it's an apple cheese pie, and I love it, well, great. I got an apple cheese pie, no idea what I'm talking about, but nothing, just to give away the game, came close to the main event. I like to think that maybe they all sat down and thought, listen, don't kick out of too many finishes, guys, 'cause you're going to take away from the main event. and it was awesome. Some of the trifecta finish kicks out. I'm going to forget there was one that was literally like GTS spear and curb stomp or whatever, back to back, and you never knew who was going to win. There's an amazing one by Seth Rollins when he caught Roman Reigns in the spear to the pedigree, gave him a stomp, 1-2, ooh. I know Seth Rollins has done that before, but I think this was the best he's ever executed it. The entrances, Seth wearing white, that's the comeback of the year. Obviously, Roman's entrance always over the top in a good way. CM Punk had an amazing video. They played The Fire Burns, came out with Paul Heyman as Living Colour played Cult of Personality live. Just seeing Punk and Heyman together again, nostalgia like crazy. It just worked. That's what I kind of thought. So it was going to go awry. And I guess the match itself is brilliant, right? Go and watch it. It's a really, really, really good main event triple threat that WWE would put on. Don't want any nonsense about how night one isn't a main event. It absolutely is. But then you get to the thing that we all knew was going to draw a line under it. What side is Paul Heyman on? Bash at the Beach 1996. Really so well laid out. I imagine it was a Paul Heyman idea. Roman Reigns on the right, Punk on the left. Paul Heyman gives the chair to Punk. Instantly you know that's not a Paul Heyman thing. There's always a trick or a turn or a twist or a dodge or a duck and a dive. Punk is going to use it, and what does Paul Heyman do? He gets on his knees and he kicks him, punches him right in the balls. Couldn't believe it. Even though in my section you could hear people knew what was coming, but they still reacted. That's when you know you got something good. And he allows Roman Reigns to take that chair and just bludgeon the absolute shit out of CM Punk. Tells him, get Seth Rollins. How devious is this? Get Seth Rollins. And just when he's going to do that, he gets on his knees. Paul Heyman also hits Roman Reigns right in that dick. And Seth Rollins then gives him the shield chair shot, which is easy for me to say. You know, the big thing that he has gone back to for the last 11 years, hits the curb stomp, and Seth Rollins pins Roman Reigns, which is massive. I do believe come SummerSlam or before, that will be one of our main events, and we'll finally put that singles feud to bed. CM Punk is now without Paul Heyman. Seth Rollins is with Paul Heyman. CM Punk didn't lose, so what do we do with him? Is he going to want revenge on Seth Rollins? Or I think Seth Rollins deserved to win this about all the great work that he's done and how many people he's put over in the last 6 months. And really, Paul Heyman joining him is the most interesting thing you can do. Now, what does Roman Reigns do? He's completely alone for the first time in years. CM Punk is going to be conflicted. He kept calling Paul Heyman his best friend. And Seth Rollins has made a deal with the devil, finally become a Paul Heyman guy. And yeah, I think probably at Backlash, it should be Paul Heyman versus Jay Uso. Jay Uso versus Seth Rollins. And I think Seth Rollins should win. It justifies the heel turn. Just realized I forgot to talk about Naomi and Jade. Cargill makes me a terrible person. The comments will be flooded now, so I'll take a pause and I'll just throw it back. But I'll leave this bit in so you can figure out what did happen. But, you know, when somebody turns heel, you want them to go and win something. And I think you should go after Jey Uso. And even though he has to be the sacrificial lamb, not only do we have a world championship that only lasts like a month, Seth Rollins getting that belt back with Paul Heyman justifies every single thing that he has done. And it makes this triple threat match better. It's one of the best triple threat matches WWE has ever done because it was all story, it was all narrative, it was all moments. That's what I want from WWE, the soap opera stuff. And Punk was great and Rollins was great and Seth was great, and that's the same person. Roman was great. They have real good chemistry together. And some of the things they did was hard hitting. Roman was on fire. Did this crazy dive over Barry Barricade, and it had me guessing the whole time. And then when my brain finally did put the pieces together, which is when WWE wanted that to happen, oh my gosh, I shouted out loud. And I love Paul Heyman being with Seth Rollins. It's different. Let's try something new. Even if it doesn't work, you can retroactively change it in a couple of months. But the bigger questions are, yeah, what does Roman do? No more bloodline. They've all gone off and done their own things. Jey Uso should never talk to him again. Roman never even wished him luck. And CM Punk, I mean, I thought it was going to be CM Punk versus John Cena. I now think it's going to be Randy Orton versus John Cena because Randy Orton's on the commercials for Backlash. But that's also exciting too. So it's so good. And I've no doubt that Night 2 will live up to it, if not surpass it. But I couldn't even offer up a suggestion about what I would have done that would have been better, especially the last 5 minutes. And again, the near falls, the 1-2s, the way we use the kick outs and the finishes. Tremendous stuff, and everybody involved, as loser as it is of me to say, should be very proud of themselves because it can't have been easy to put together. So, WrestleMania Night 1, done, in the books, as is almost my voice, as it does go out. Listen, it's not going to match up to some of the best WrestleManias of all time because, again, just the way that it was designed, I do think was intentional, but I could be wrong. But it's a good watch, and being there was great, the stadium was great, the people were great. So I really enjoyed myself, and I'm very excited for Night 2. I think John Cena versus Cody Rhodes is going to be off the charts. Now listen, please interact with the video as much as possible. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which will be Who the Flub Knows. It will tell, and you can find out. Otherwise, there'll be a bunch of links down there. Support me on Patreon, support me at Gorilla Mind. Use my code Simon, Simon316 on all social media. And listen, given that you will be able to see Ups and Downs live soon, thank you to everyone that came out and made that a very special night. I never thought that dumb show would be able to do what it did do, so that was cool. And some people even mentioned that they enjoy my more laid-back videos here. So I've had a wonderful time in Vegas. It's not over yet. Let me know what you thought about WrestleMania Night 1. There's no wrong answers. Even if you think it absolutely sucked, more power to you, man. I like the fact you have that passion. Take care, my friends. You really are the best, and I'll talk to you soon.